You are listening to Pause. We pause for a second or two. This is episode 63, Weight and Balance, Part 2. Last time we talked about specific skill, weight and balance. We spoke about weight. Weight and balance is a specific skill which has two parts, weight and balance. And last time, in part 1, that was back in episode 35. In part 1, we talked about the weight part. And what we said then was that if we have a real physical sense of our weight down into the ground, then all of our situations sort of slow down and calm. Specific skill, weight and balance is specific for our acute situation. The one signified with the orange exclamation mark in our framework. It's specific for our acute situation. And last time we talked about that when we have this very real sense of physical weight down into the ground, then this sort of calm sets in. And first it affects us, ourselves. And then this sort of calm is contagious. So it spreads. So the people standing next to us will, on a mostly subconscious level, just feel this sort of grounding. They will feel their own sense of weight down into the ground when they stand close to us, practicing this specific skill. Today, we will talk about the second part of specific skill, weight and balance, which is balance. Balance is similar to weight, but also different. Balance is similar to weight in that it has this calming, slowing down effect on both us and the people close to us. Physically, spatially close to us. But balance is also its own thing, and it is a bit different from weight. To describe balance is effectively done by talking about what its opposite is, what being off balance means emotionally. And when I talk about balance, I use our physical sense of balance in our body and our emotional balance like synonymously, because they are like two sides of the same thing. When we are off balance, that is when acute situations occur. So, if you call to mind a situation recently, perhaps today or yesterday, when someone just felt very off balance to you, when someone just had this sort of energy about them, that acute things, sudden things, just happen to this person over and over on account of this person being off balance. When we are off balance, we are either forward leaning on our toes, too active, overly engaged, or we are on our heels, leaning backwards. We're being passive, we're being submissive or invisible. Both these off balances, leaning forward and leaning backwards, being too active and being too passive, both these give rise to sudden, unpleasant things happening. If you are, let's say that you are backwards leaning, you are too passive, you are, this sort of disengaged energy. Then the people meeting you will have no choice but to become forward-leaning when meeting you. Because there can be no meeting with someone passive if not the other one is being active. So already there we have this sort of pendulum motion happening. If one party is too backwards leaning, the other party becomes too forward leaning. And it has this tendency in real life, it has this tendency to sort of go back and forth. So someone backwards leaning can quite suddenly become forward leaning, because the two off balances, backwards and forwards, they sort of change into each other. Like if you push something, it has this tendency to sort of swing back as it is trying to correct itself. And the opposite is also true. If you are taking the initiative and being too forward-leaning, too overactive, too engaged, then the person meeting you will have no choice but to become backwards leaning. And this sort of one forward, one backwards dynamics has this tendency to, spread and create these acute situations. Another reason for why we lean too much forward, both physically and emotionally, and or lean backwards too much. Another reason for that is when we say that we are in a room with a group of people. Say that you are at the store, you're buying food. And if you are in this room, but when you are there, you have this mindset, this thought in the back of your head that soon you will get out of there. Like in your head, you're already in the next room or in the next place or out in the parking lot. If that is your mindset, if that is your sort of state of mind, then your forward leaning or too much backwards leaning will get this sort of restless energy. This restless, stressed, insecure energy. And this energy spreads very fast. Now we have talked about what we are doing when we are being off balance. So now it will be easier to understand just balance, specific skill, weight and balance. Often it is useful to have some sort of internal image for what is balance. And often, this is my view at least, maybe you disagree, I don't know, but often I get this sort of feeling that when we talk about balance in popular culture or in other instances of emotional skills and such, often we talk about balance as this sort of tranquil thing. Like it's very serene or very quiet, this sort of very polite or correct balance. That it's important to be correct. Or sort of, not being too forceful. And this is an unfortunate connection to make, because specific skill, weight and balance does not mean that we are polite or correct or boring, so to speak. So if you call to mind instead this sort of like this toy, this sort of spinner, like you can I don't know what it's called in English, but it has this sort of little handle and this sort of point, and they are bigger in the middle, and then you can spin them as fast as you can. And then in the beginning they will be wobbly, but if you spin it just right, and if you spin it forcefully, with a lot of force, and you spin that toy between your fingers, and you spin it, and then this sort of spinner, this toy, becomes completely still, completely balanced. So it's standing there in one point, and it's spinning ferociously. It has a lot of energy. It has a lot of force in it, very full of life, but it's completely balanced. That is the image I want you to have in mind as you are contemplating and practicing specific skill, weight and balance. Balance is not passive. Balance is not boring. Balance is not correct. Balance is this sort of very focused and very strong energy. So if this toy, this spinner, if it has so much energy in it, if it has so much life force in it, and if it wobbles, if it becomes off balance, then it will just go in one corner. It will go in one direction. Poof. And that is sort of why balance is so important. So if we want to have this sort of effect on people, to calm people down, or to gain natural authority in a situation, our goal for acute situations is authority. It's the Polaroid goal for acute situations, authority. So if we want authority, then we need this big energy. We need to be like this spinner. We need to have great energy, but it needs to be balanced for people to gravitate to us in a natural way. Okay, so now we know what we're doing when we are off balance, and we have an image inside of us, this spinner, this very energetic spinner. We have an image inside of us to use. So now the question is, how do we do this? And I would use a physical approach. That is what I do myself. So as we are working out, as we are training, as we are doing physical exercise, there are all of these balancing exercises we can do. Because physical balance is the same as emotional balance. If I am standing with my 2 feet on the ground and I am physically balanced, I'm not forward leaning, I'm not backwards leaning. If I'm just squared down into the ground and I feel my full weight balanced down into the ground, that feeling will spread. So like this spinner, this toy, when we work out, when we do physical exercise, lift weights, do cardio, then we also do these balancing exercises. We can use a balance board, or we can do these different yoga exercises, or qigong, or tai chi, or anything really that helps us get in touch with our physical sense of balance. And we are like the spinner. We have intense energy, very strong energy, and we are balanced. We have our full weight down into the ground, like we learned in part 1, episode 35. And we have balance. And this energy, to have our full weight, to be balanced, and have this strong energy about us, physical energy, this will help calm down people physically. And when people calm down physically, they will also calm down emotionally. And when they calm down emotionally, acute situations will not happen as much. Sudden, unpleasant, potentially dangerous situations will not happen as much. They will happen. Sometimes they are inevitable, or we make some other mistake, or someone else just has a really bad day. But specific skill, weight and balance, it really works. That's it for today. Thank you.